I guess the place where they have 90% of the population.
Yeah, 90% is, and I hope you dive deep into that location just because it has more people and it might have more history and culture there, and food.
Food, yeah. I wouldn't want to go to the. I wouldn't want to land on the island with the one person because then
cousin.
yeah, they'll be like, I haven't seen people in so long.
What's good, y'all? It's the Demouchets REACT, and we're back with another video. Who we got today, C?
Today we're back with another American reaction. Super excited about this video, guys. If you're new to us
and we're new to you,
make sure you scroll down, hit that subscribe button, and turn on the post notification bell because we're on the road to 100K. And we cannot get there without you guys, all right? Join the family. Without further ado, let's get into the video.
We just did the Serbia episode, and it feels great knowing that we are back to doing countries where we don't have to do insane backstories riddled in Balkan Slavic conflict. In fact, this country doesn't even have an indigenous population. It's one of the few rare countries that nobody lived on until modern history. And since then, they've become one of the top richest countries in Africa. And why is it always the certain small island nations that have economic booms?
Proximity to rich countries while offering obscure high-end luxury tourism?
I don't know. Geographic advantage on a trade choke point with strict mobilizing policies?
I don't know, like weird finance loopholes.
A desirable resource that we forgot to put into a pension fund? Oh, Seychelles doesn't really fit any of those. They basically just did what I did. Bingo.
It's time to learn geography now!
Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbs. Now, the Seychelles may be a part of Africa, but the people here kind of see the Indian Ocean as a bigger part of their identity. They are water people, and they have a very unique story. Much like these Geography Now t-shirts, or Geography Now mugs, or Geography Now drawstring bags, of which it's fourth you can get at geographynow.com. It's not selling out if it's my brand. Anyhow, this episode is going to be so great, you'll say shelf this one in the cool part of the bookshelf. Yeah, it was Jillian's turn. I think everybody else on the cast had their time.
Yeah, we sure did. You did so great. I taught you so well. Well done. Okay.
There they go. Few countries like Seychelles can truly give that raw, invigorating feel of being an Indian Ocean island nation. First of all, the country is located in the Indian Ocean, a ways off the eastern coast of the African continent, northeast of Madagascar. Made up of 115 islands divided into 7 cluster groups, which are the inner islands, with the northern Corallines, and the outer islands, made up of the Amarants, the Alphonse, the Farquhar, the Aldabra, and the southern Coralline group. About 98% of the population lives on only 3 islands in the inner island chain. Mahe, which holds the country's capital, Victoria, and this island altogether has about 90% of the population. A little bit to the east, about 5.6% of the population lives on Praslin and 2.3% on La Digue. The remaining 2% of the population, or just under 2,000 people, are dispersed amongst 40-ish islands, the vast majority at about 1,500 in the inner island chain alone, and the remaining quarter in the outer group. Half of these outlier islands have less than 10 people on them. Many of them are only seasonally inhabited for part of the year, and some of them only have a single resident. The country is divided into 26 districts, 8 alone just in the capital Victoria, and from there the rural parts of Mahe Island have another 14. Praslin Island has 2 districts, and La Digue in itself is its own district, and all the rest of the outer islands are collectively the last district. Mahe Island holds the largest and only international airport, Seychelles International. From there are about 15 other smaller regional airports and airstrips for low passenger capacity turboprop planes. Fun fact, they are the smallest country in the world to have their own national airline, Air Seychelles. In addition, they also have the largest seaport of the country, Victoria Port. Outside of the heavily populated Mahe Island, the second largest settlement would be Baie Sainte-Anne on Praslin Island and La Paz on La Digue Island. Traveling to the outer islands and atolls is a bit more tricky.
Keep up. I know this is a lot. This is a lot so far. It could come off as confusing, but a lot of these locations is its own island inside the region of the S word.
Yeah, so Seychelles.
Seychelles, yeah.
I used to pronounce it Seychelles. Seychelles. This has been like a goal of mine to go ever since we saw, the popular YouTube couple who's no longer a couple. Go there.
Don't mention.
They went there and the island just looked beautiful and I love the vibe. So ever since then, that was a couple years ago, I've been wanting to go.
Yeah,
so I'm super excited to see more about this, but it's spread it out. So what's the most popular place to go?
With one airport.
And they got little small airports, but I mean landing strips.
Yeah.
I guess the place where they have 90% of the
Yeah,
population.
90% is, and I hope you dive deep into that location just because it has more people and it might have more history and culture there, and food.
Food, yeah. I wouldn't want to go to the. I wouldn't want to land on the island with the one person because then you know,
cousin.
yeah, they'll be like, I haven't seen people in so long.
Come here.
You know,
let me introduce you to my tree. Nah, real talk, something like that. I just think that's like really lonely, but I hope he again dive into that too because
let us know
the 1% and the 90%, everybody else cause do their thing. I know they chilling.
Do y'all know the one person? That would be
or
interesting.
as a family, maybe. You never know.
He said one person.
Well, dang.
And time-consuming, as they lie over 1,000 kilometers away from the inner island chain. The furthest airstrip is located on Assumption Island in the Aldabra chain. There are no regular scheduled sea vessel transport systems that travel between these islands, so flying is probably your best bet, and it will probably be expensive considering the remoteness and lack of commercial demand. Yeah, you're most likely just going to see the 3 main islands if you visit, but fun fact, Seychelles is actually one of the few visa-free countries in the world. How can they just let people in without a visa? Well, it kind of goes like this.
All right, made it to Seychelles. Here's my passport.
Do you have a return flight proving you're going to leave eventually?
Yeah, here's my itinerary.
Do you have contact info for the accommodations you'll be staying at?
Yeah, bookings are right here. Alternatively, if you are staying with a local, you can give their personal info too.
Can you prove you have enough money to spend while you're here?
No problem.
Do you promise to, like, not miss your returning flight and not illegally live and work here?
Yes.
Welcome to Seychelles.
And that's
so
about it.
It's like your word is your bond.
Yeah.
If you say you should do it, and I feel like if that's how it is, then the loyalty among the people have probably the same amount of trust. Like, real talk.
Definitely. Okay, we like
There,
it
the
so
3
far.
main islands have their own ring roads, and you can commute with small buses or the more common option, taxis. And some of the top notable places you can take with those taxis, if you decide to visit, might include the National Gallery of Art, the National Culture Center, St. Anne National Marine Park, Eden Island, the National Botanical Garden, St. Paul's Cathedral, the Cathedral of Our Lady of Immaculate Conception, Sir Selwyn Clark Market, the Natural History Museum, the Little Ben Clock Tower, Mission Lodge Lookout, and probably the most notable site, the Aldabra Atoll. It's incredibly difficult to access, and it's home to over 150,000 giant tortoises.
That would be something our kids would love to see. So being in California, and I know there's nothing to do with this because it's so different, like the locations, but I feel like there's some similarities because of the mountains and everything. So when you see those type of things, it kind of gives that like that greenery, that lively feel because it's not flat, it's not that low altitude type of style of living or whatnot. But
it seems like a place you can just go outside, like if you're having a bad day and you'll just be enlightened, like just peaceful and just happy. I'm loving it.
Well, for you was kind of on the other side of that though.
What?
When we was driving to Cali, and you had all the mountains around you.
Oh, not the mountains.
Them big old rocks.
I was talking about the beaches.
Okay, yeah, the beaches
the
too.
mountains.
But then the beaches with the mountains in the background, like the other islands.
That's cool. I just don't want to drive on it.
Where we fly? They got some locations you can take a boat.
See, I say boat, but then when you're in the middle of that water and it's just water all around.
Oh yeah. Man.
Tortoise side. The hell's the plural for tortoise? Oh, plural is just tortoise. Tortoise is the plural of tortoise. English fun! Yes, you heard that right. Giant tortoise. And we haven't even talked about the weird coconut thing. That we'll be discussing in the next segment. Duh. The nickname of Seychelles is the land of perpetual summer, as the weather is not only usually amazing, but they generally lie outside the cyclone belt, and henceforth have an ideal climate to enjoy. And it's not just the climate that Seychelles can boast about. For one, the country is located in the Somali Sea segment of the Indian Ocean, almost at the center of the Somali Plate, a subsection of the Greater African Plate that starts at the East African Rift System. It is the smallest country in Africa by land area at only about 460 square kilometers. Unlike other neighboring islands like Comoros or Reunion, Seychelles is not volcanic in its foundation and are predominantly granite and raised coral islands. The majority of islands in the inner island chain, like Mahe, Praslin, and Madigue, are made up of granite, and the rest, especially in the outlier regions, are coral, or coralline. With its larger landmass and shallower beaches with natural ports, this is the reason why many of the inner islands were the primary choice of habitation for the majority of the population. Mahe Island in itself carries the extreme points of physical features. They have the tallest peak, Mont Seychellois, at just over 900 meters high, which is the source of the longest and largest river of the country, the Cascade River, named that way because it has these really cool looking cascading waterfalls. And finally, they have the largest inland body of water, the Lagogue Reservoir up north, and it holds the most fresh water that is supplied to the people. Keep in mind, about half of the entire domain belonging to Seychelles, including the water surrounding areas, belong to nature reserves and marine protected areas which prohibit commercial construction. Yeah, and speaking of special areas, the Valley de Mai National Park is one of the only 2 places on 2 separate islands in the world where you can find the coco de mer, the world's largest nut shaped like a woman's hips or a butt, whatever side you see. The rarity of this nut makes it the most iconic and sought after souvenir that can go for hundreds of dollars depending on the size and shape. They're essentially coconuts, so you have to scoop out the meat on the inside and dry out the hollowed shell. Really? That's your gimmick? Mine was the dodo, and everybody...
That's unique. Can you order that home? Like, I will order that. Like, I want one.
I know we got some Seychelles supporters.
Like, can we have one? Like, it's probably like little. So he was holding on side of the little guy. Like, the little guy was holding his about that big though.
I would like to just like have it as art.
Right. I would want one just to have.
Yes.
knows about that one. It's world famous.
At least my gimmick is alive.
Now listen here, you little Anyway, with that, it's time for my triple shot of espresso break, which means Noah comes in for the rest of the segment. Noah?
Sorry, Paul. I can't do my segment today. The Nine Realms needs us. Until we meet again.
Oh, shoot, yeah, okay, he's not free. You know what, I'll fill in. I'll fill in for you, Noah. I haven't done this in a while. You know, get back to my roots. Alright, so, with Seychelles, there's a lot of natural beauty, but limited space and resources. Now, although there is a somewhat persisting agriculture industry, mostly producing coconuts, sweet potatoes, and vanilla, people actually working in the agriculture industry have declined from about a third of the population to only about 3% today. Since then, the majority of revenue stems from two sources, fishing and tourism. Fishing accounts for somewhere around 16% of the GDP, mostly with tuna being their main catch. They love tuna here. Woo! For tourism, the whole industry kicked off mostly in the 1970s when the international airport was opened. From there, it became a nearly overnight success. High-end luxury resorts and villas were constructed. They often host a wide range of high-profile celebrities and personnel such as Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston, Prince William and Kate Middleton, George Clooney.
George Clooney?
Yeah, my mom loves George Clooney. Nonetheless, the successful tourism industry does have its drawbacks. Pirates, due to their location not far from the Somali coast, occasionally attacks may
Yeah, so we heard of this. I forgot which video we was reacting to.
Yeah.
But the pirates are very mean men. They would take... Well, I'm going to let him tell it.
Yeah, because...
I'm going to let him tell it.
You know, that being a tourist destination, that's kind of scary.
Yeah, pirates pull up on you. And then when in packs, too, look at the boat.
Oh, Lord.
Seen that boy yak boy? That boy had the...
Well, I see that. I'm taking off running.
Girl,
Don't know where I'm running.
man, just go. We already know.
They usually cost somewhere around $7 to $12 million a year in lost vessels, fishing, and tourism. Regardless of all these issues, the current system of operations, especially in the tourism industry, has allowed them to rank in the top 3 richest countries in Africa, sometimes usually the actual richest one with a GDP PPP above 30K. A lot of numbers and letters there. Ooh. All right, and with that, it's time for our animal correspondent, Gary Harlow.
Gary Harlow here. In Seychelles, you can find 3 terrestrial national parks on the 3 largest islands and 6 marine national parks open to the public. They also have 33 marine protected areas in all island chains. These protected areas are home to the many fragile and endemic species of fish, mammals, birds, and reptiles. So many fish, coral, and mollusk species, and the national fish, the Indo-Pacific sailfish, swims around here. Now, bats make up about 20% of all mammals in Seychelles. Most of the remaining mammals are marine species like dugongs, pygmy sperm whales, and striped dolphins. Birds, of course, are common, including endemic species like the blue pigeon, the super rare black parrot only found on Pryland Island, and the national bird, tropic bird. But the one animal that the Seychelles prides itself on being home to would be the Seychelles giant tortoise. In fact, the second oldest giant tortoise in the entire world, Esmeralda, can be found here. She's over 300 kilos and was born in 1846.
Wow.
That's it for me. Remember to follow my mate Caleb Seaton on Instagram.
Who's this Caleb freak.
It's not me. Surely it's not me.
Thank you, Gary, who is totally not Caleb. We swear he is not. And with that, it is time to end this segment as we always do. Food! Quick little side note, fun fact. Often, red meat and poultry are reserved for Sundays, whereas the rest of the week, fish is the main source of protein. In any case, you have dishes like shark curry, octopus curry. You also have sausage rougaille, smoked fish salad, various grilled fish, too many to list, bouillon, that really cool ladog dessert, and kaktak banan. So much
that
fusion.
look
And of course,
Yeah, I say y'all eating good up there.
Y'all know we some seafood lovers
Gotta
now.
get some seafood.
Ooh,
Man, it was the
Seychelles?
octopus dish
Seychelles.
though. Did you hear the octopus dish?
Yeah, now the octopus. I don't eat octopus.
Never tried it. We got some in Walmart.
Yeah.
Anybody interested?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So they
Cook
eat
your
shark
own.
too.
Yeah, shark is known.
Now our son, we have a son who is very inquisitive, right?
Yeah, he is,
He
yeah.
love like exotic to us. Maybe it's not gonna be exotic to you, but he love exotic foods.
Mm-hmm.
So he may like Seychelles. We may have a hard time getting him back on the plane.
He'll pull a seat up in.
Yeah, he'll be
and
like,
dive in with
"Oh,
you."
octopus, boy! You've never eaten
Till he
octopus
tastes
a day in your life."
it. He'll know if you like it or not.
Yeah.
you can't have culinary fusion without fusion of people, which brings us to...
Let's get into people.
So, I asked some of you guys, the Seychellois geography peeps, to explain what it means to be Seychellois. And here's some of the things you guys said.
Because we're such a small nation, I feel like lots of Seychellois are very patriotic and very proud of where they're from. We bang on about Seychelles all the time. And for me, Seychelles is the only place where I really feel at home. Like when I go back to Seychelles, I feel like I can be myself. People could just get me, and I don't ever need to explain myself.
Yeah, I agree with my mum. It's really nice to be in Seychelles. We're a small country, but we're unique, and it feels really nice. It's cool, it's fun, and yeah, I like surprising people.
Unique because our island is 1,000 miles from anywhere, and when we grew up, we just felt that there was no other country and no other world except Seychelles. We soon learned there were other countries and other worlds.
Okay, so he said that they nobody is indigenous to this land. But I'm noticing something between these three people that he just showed. Mm-hmm. They remind me of Louisiana Creoles. Mm-hmm. With their complexions.
Yeah.
The first girl kind of sounded like she had like a French accent. So that's just my they observation before he tell us what they are.
Yeah, they give me the island tone though, like with the skin tone and the way they speak. I feel like it's Caribbeanish.
Yeah. Y'all know all the times if you're a faithful member of the channel, I talk about how my mom is light, my dad is really dark.
Oh yeah.
My mom is a little lighter than this one, and then this woman. She may be maybe the same tone as her, Yeah, she's
a pinch of shade, a pinch shade brighter. Not brighter as in lighter, but brighter as in redder. Mm-hmm. If I say, yeah.
Yeah, so this woman looked like a Louisiana Creole. So.
She do, yeah.
Yeah, and Louisiana Creoles got French, Spanish, African. I think African.
Just look into a gumbo pot.
Yeah,
was that in the gumbo? That's what we are.
Thanks, guys. Now, as mentioned before, Seychelles is one of the few countries on Earth Europeans settled that was completely uninhabited upon discovery. Like, it was actually a huge pirate hotspot at one time. This guy, a famous French pirate, hid his treasure supposedly somewhere on Mahe Island, and it's like undiscovered to this day. It wasn't until the French came in 1756 that Seychelles was finally permanently settled. I mean, weird choice of a notable person to name it after, but sure, Minister of Finance. From there, all the other people groups were brought in, but to illustrate, here's the demographics graph. Today, the country has just under 100,000 people, making it the least populated country in Africa. It is really hard to get the specific numbers because most statistical reports don't include race, or they'll just tell you the majority are Seychelles Creole, which are basically just people that are a mix between East or Malagasy African and varying degrees of French, British, and Indian heritage. So to summarize, it's mostly black, but everyone has a splash of some white and Indian in them. Maybe. However, if you really want to break down the numbers, I looked around at varying sources, took the numbers, and averaged out what I could, and I got somewhere around 85 to 90% of the country being Seychelles Creole, and if I got my numbers right, somewhere around 6% of the country are Indo-Seychellois, or Indian from India, often called Malabars, as they are mostly southern Tamil Indians off the Malabar coast. However, again, over time, many have also mixed in, and it's estimated that somewhere around 80% of the country may have some Indian ancestry.
I like it over here too then. Y'all like it in Louisiana. Y'all like our food, most importantly. I feel like there would be a good connection. Like, y'all would hear the voices and the people and the turns and where they from and how they grew up. Y'all be like, hold on.
Yes.
This feels relatable.
Yes. What is our Indian population like in Louisiana?
That is a hard one.
It's been a while. I don't really remember. I know we have a big Asian population, but...
Indians always been quiet.
Yeah. Now, when we came to Texas...
They've been real quiet.
Totally different.
Oh, yeah. So.
Totally different, baby. Totally different.
Yeah.
But I am surprised that they call themselves Seychelles Creole.
Facts.
Like, that was just an observation that I saw.
Oh, you killed it.
I didn't know about the Indian. Well, I did know about the Indian because one of our supporters told us he's ready for us to get to the Indian fusion food of Seychelles. So
pat on the back.
The largest European groups would be the Anglo and Franco-Seychellois. I tried to gather as much data as I could, and from varying sources, it came out to somewhere around 5% European white Seychellois, a little more British at about 3%, and about 2% French. Finally, from there, about 1% of the population are Sino-Seychellois, or Chinese Seychelles citizens, mostly Cantonese and Hakka descended from workers brought over by the British during colonial times. And again, just to clarify, don't take that graph as pure gospel. I tried my best to average out various sources that had conflicting numbers. Anyway, they use the Seychelles rupee as their currency, which by the way makes them the smallest country in the world to issue their own currency. And of course, as a former British colony, they use the types G British style plug outlets, and they drive on the left side of the road. And bonus fun fact, Seychelles has the most powerful passport in Africa. As of 2020, it has access to 151 countries visa free, making it 29th most powerful globally. The country has 3 official languages, English, French, and the most commonly used Seychellois Creole, or Seychellois, which is basically a French-based Creole.
Wait, both English and French?
History. Long story short, it was basically like, d'accord, j'étais le premier à venir ici, alors parle avec conséquente. Tout le monde ici apprend le français. Oh, you again! It's just like St. Lucia all over again. Let's fight! So yeah, basically the British came in and everyone was already speaking French or Creole, and it was too late to tell them to all switch, so they just kept all 3 and made them all co-official. Creole was essentially created by the slave and indentured servant community as a means to intercommunicate, and from there it became a standardized official language used in schools, newspapers, TV, and even the National Assembly.
We don't have as many rules as there are in French. So for example, in French you've got feminine and masculine. We don't have that in the same way. For example, the word for bread in French, you've got the bread, le pain. In Seychelles Creole, it's du pain. In French, if you want to say he is tall, she is tall, il est grand, elle est grande. Seychelles Creole, she is tall, he is tall, is the same. Il grand.
Well, when I was
That's
growing
similar
up, my
to Louisiana.
grandmother was always saying, where's Sinifia? And Sinifia means you're annoying. Don't go and do fite. Fite means don't go to people's house uninvited.
Thank you. Now I talked to some of you guys, the Seychellois geography peeps. One reoccurring concept and theme that kind of encapsulates the Seychellois identity is the fact that everyone is just kind of everything, yet nothing all at once.
Oh, dang. That's proverbial.
See, in Seychelles, it's kind of like Brazil with the Pardo people. You know, over time, the majority of the population got so ethnically mixed between all the races throughout the centuries that they kind of just created their own new Creole race. Everyone has a little bit of something from everywhere, and you see hints of African, Indian, French, and British undertones. Kind of like me, you know, I'm half Korean.
And my great-grandma was black.
There you go. Keith has black ancestry. Bet you didn't know that. Faith-wise, the majority of the country, at somewhere around 90%, are Christian, mostly Catholic, at about 75%. Government-wise, the country is operated by a unitary presidential republic. As in, yes, pretty much since the coup d'etat in 1977, their country has been ruled by one party, which is one of the more controversial aspects of this nation. They actually did have a few more coup attempts in the 80s, one ending with a gun battle at the airport and a hijacked airplane by a team of South African mercenaries posing as a rugby team.
What the?
Yeah, weird but true story. But anyway, speaking of fake rugby, it's time for Art with the sports part. Art, where are you? Oh, jeez, do I seriously have to go get him?
Ain't nobody working today.
Whoa! Somehow I ended up back in Washington again for the second time.
Top of your hair, the slap.
Mom,
Shut your mouth.
So let's be frank, although people of Seychelles love the outdoors, they do kind of lack in the athletics department. Most major athletes hold day jobs and compete as a side hobby. One problem the country faces, they have the highest obesity rate in the sub-Saharan Africa with about 43% for females and 21% for males. Nonetheless, they pushed through on the basketball court pretty well. Their national team qualified for the 2015 African Games, their greatest accomplishment to this day, where they competed against large countries like Egypt. No shocker, like most other countries, soccer or football, I mean it's not like it's like a ball that you kick with your feet, right, is heavily cherished. They have 10 Division 1 clubs. And the home turf field is the Linete Stadium in Victoria with a 10,000 seat capacity. The country also has 2 golf courses, a 9-hole on Mahe Island and an 18-hole one in Praslin. In addition, Seychelles has also hosted the Indian Ocean Island Games twice. It's like a mini Olympics for Indian Ocean countries. They ranked 4th overall. But anyway, what it comes down to is Seychelles is a nation of water. They prefer anything that involves the ocean. Usually this involves more recreational activities like kayaking, sailing, surfing, or snorkeling. For what it's worth,
which are all sports too.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if they're like interested in, or do they do those type of sports as well? Because I mean, it don't have to be athletic to do those things as much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've seen it before with the canoeing, and they have these big old canoe races.
Yeah, who's popular? That's an Olympic sport too.
I believe so. Yeah.
I forgot what it's called.
Huh.
They are very hopeful that their swimming team could potentially win the country's first Olympic medals at the now delayed because Corona 21 Olympics in Tokyo. Especially with the rising new star Felicity Passon, who is the Africa backstroke champion and will participate representing Seychelles. Alright guys, since I'm back in Washington, that's going to be it for me. You want to do like an exit animation?
No, we're good. I'm glad I came here though. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Art. Well, there you go. Seychelles just keeps on swimming. And along with swimming, the country enjoys a myriad of other pastimes and traditions. And with that, now it's time for Culture Stuff with Random Hannah.
Hey guys!
Yeah, Hannah's not here this week, so,
Yep.
I guess you're gonna have to fill in, Jillian.
I got it.
All right.
As mentioned, Seychelles have a culture that is a total fusion of Europe, Africa, and Asian all in one. Even in the outskirt areas, you might still spot traditional architecture that fuses Victorian-style patios with a combination gable roof thatched with palm leaves. Locally made handmade crafts, jewelry, and artwork are on display everywhere. There's even an entire craft village at Grand Cause Plantation. The 3 main islands have their own friendly rivalries and jokes about each other. People on Praslin are sometimes called Zancé Praslin, meaning stubborn or ill-mannered. The people of La Digue are kind of seen as like country folk with an accent. For example, they call cookies gâteau, which means cake, when everyone else calls it biscuit. Even on the main island of Mahe, there's a north-south rivalry. The south side is often called au vent, or the wind, because it's generally windier there. And each side claims that they have the better beaches and hangout spots. Upon meeting, people will often give small gifts like jam chutneys or fruits from their garden. The family structure is much more matriarchal. Mothers usually have the main say in financial affairs and child rearing. It is not uncommon to see up to 4 generations in a single household. People also sometimes visit the bonhomme or bonne femme des bois, or a local seer fortune teller, to seek good fortune and receive protective amulets for luck, or charms called gris-gris to curse enemies. Speaking of which, in Seychelles, superstitions are a long-standing tradition. According to folklore, don't whistle at night because it's bad luck. If your hands are itchy, money is coming your way. If your nose itches, someone is talking about you. And if your hand is clammy, you're jealous. And finally, there are a multitude of festivals and celebrations.
Talking about sweating, right? Sweaty palms?
They say if your hands are itchy, you're jealous.
No, that's the back of your hand. If your hand is itching on the back, that's what I seen in the picture. That means you get some money.
Okay, so ours is this.
Yeah, we open palmed it. You feel me? That means we're going to have money. Big money coming in.
But everything else is the same. If your nose itching, somebody talking about you.
They want to kiss you.
If your eye jumping, somebody's talking about you.
If your nose
it's left good and right is bad, right? One of those.
They say if you're crying from the left eye, you're sad. If you're crying from the right eye, you miss somebody.
Something like that.
Something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, we forgot.
Yeah, we be pulling teeth with
it was a lot of similarities. Just the last one kind of. Yeah, the last one I never heard of that one.
Yeah, let's hear it again.
Jealous of
I think she said your hands are sweating. I want to say she was saying sweating.
Don't whistle at night because it's bad luck. If your hands are itchy, money is coming your way. If your nose itches, someone is talking about you. And if your hand is clammy, you're jealous.
Oh,
and finally,
sweaty.
there are a multitude of festivals and celebrations that they partake in. As a heavily Catholic influenced nation, Carnival in February is a colorful 3-day event. Independence Day in June, the Beau Balloon Regatta in August and September, with yacht races and beach games. The most important month, though, would probably be October, which hosts the Creole Festival, the largest celebration of the year, lasting 6 days. Everything from food to music. And you know the deal, the moment anyone mentions music, that means it is time for Keith, which is cool with me because I don't got beef with Keith.
Alright, so with music, Seychelles has 3 traditional types of music that they highlight as a nation. Mutia, Cantole, and Sega. Insert Sega joke.
Keith, you're supposed to make a Sega joke.
Oh, right. Sega Dreamcast, greatest console ever. Mutia is the style more influenced off of African origins. It is a music and dance style that usually involves a bonfire around sunset and drums. The music was actually used as a form of communication amongst slaves during early colonial years as the songs were codified. Cantole is similar to Western-style ballroom music with dancing, but much less formal. Instruments like guitars, accordions, and tambourines are very typically used.
Zydeco. Zydeco, y'all.
Let me find out Seychelles is a little Louisiana.
I don't know about the violin with the Zydeco, but
They be having the violin.
you can throw it in there.
They be having the cello.
Right. Ooh,
Yeah, which
Zydeco. Like when I seen that, I instantly thought about it.
Yeah.
I couldn't hold that in.
We gotta show y'all some Zydeco.
Yeah, on our next video, y'all gotta check it out. We're gonna have to show y'all some more of that Louisiana style.
Used in this style of music. And finally we get to Sega music. Sega again. Sega is actually Mauritian in origin, but it's very popular in Seychelles as well. It is a fast, upbeat type of style of music that allows more rhythmic moves for dancing. These two people are often seen as the iconic figures of Seychelles music industry, as they often fuse modern Creole pop with traditional folk instruments. Finally, on the island of Les Digues, you have the Mardilo dance. It largely resembles a purely African tribal dance with chanting and skipping with sticks. Otherwise, yeah, buy a Keith shirt at geographynow.com. It's gorgeous. Just look at it. Beautiful. You can be beautiful too just by wearing this. All right, my name is Keith. You are awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Now it's time to move on to the very condensed history segment. In a nutshell, uninhabited islands that maybe a few Arabs and Austronesians passed by but nobody really bothered to settle. Vasco da Gama spots some of the islands, he documents it and moves on. Pirates, French come in and settle officially. First wave of slaves brought in, mostly from East Africa or Madagascar. British come in, slavery abolished, independence, coup d'etat on the first president, country in practice becomes a one-party state, more failed coups in the 80s, tourism boom, and here we are today. Yeah, so that's just about that. Now we move on to the famous people section. Notable people from Seychelles might include Francis Chan Sam, Angie Arneffi, Sandra Esperon, Canadian TV actor Neil Dennis, jockey Anthony Delpech, Wavel Ramkalawan, the long-serving president Albert Rene, Dar Leon, and tons of athletes like these: Lisa Abiche, Orly Fanchette, Dominic Dugas, Juliette Awan, and Dwayne Didon. Awesome. Seychelles, small yet definitely moving forward in a prosperous manner. Some of the prosperity is in thanks to the various interactions they have with the other countries outside, which brings us to... Now, as a remote, distant, small island nation, Seychelles is kind of like the country that Africa kind of pays a little attention to. In fact, the Commonwealth of Nations probably pays more attention to Seychelles than Africa. In fact, today, only 10 countries have embassies in Seychelles, and only one of them, Libya, is an African country. I'm just saying. In any case. One friend not too many people talk about is Cyprus. Their first president, Archbishop Makarios III, was imprisoned and exiled in British Seychelles. After he was released, he had only good things to say about the country, which cemented a deep historical friendship between the two. Today, when a Seychellois meets a Cypriot, they have a warm exchange and they both know about this event. A really close friend would also be the UAE. Not only do they provide the largest source of imports, mostly in petroleum, but sheikhs and other top officials have an affinity for the islands. They contribute largely for the tourism industry, with investing in things like the construction of new hotels and so forth, which further helps locals find more work. China and India are also huge partners in business and industry as well. Both countries have a minority community in Seychelles, which kind of compels both of them to invest. China was one of the first countries to recognize and supply aid to Seychelles back in the 70s. They've helped construct a polytechnical school and housing developments while doing solid trade deals as well. With India, their heads of state have met each other and have made numerous treaties and agreements. Most medications and construction workers are brought over from India, and the Indian Navy has a cooperative agreement to help with anti-piracy operations in the Indian Ocean. The closest European ties, though, would have to be their former colonial countries, the UK and France. Both contribute widely, not only in business and tourism, as both languages can be used here, but many Seychellois move or have family in these countries as well. Keep in mind, Seychelles is also a Commonwealth country, so diplomatically they already have a leg up on the UK. Closer to home, Madagascar is close too. Not only
so I feel like Seychelles have the most people that I've ever seen interact with them and show them love. Like, to say they're just so small and off the coast of Africa, but golly, y'all got a lot of people that's vibing with y'all. A lot.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Are they one of the closest neighbors geographically? But many of the people are descended from the Malagasy, as they were brought over by the French during colonial times. Today, many people intermarry between each other's countries and both like to visit each other on occasion and say hi cordially. When it comes to their best friend, however, most Seychellois people I have asked have said maybe Mauritius. They share so much in common. Both were uninhabited upon discovery. Both were colonized by the French and British. Both speak Creoles that are pretty intelligible, and both have a widely diverse fused population. If anyone gets the Indian Ocean island story, it's these two countries, hands down. In conclusion, Seychelles is a very unique country because it's kind of like a country that started with nobody and then somehow became everybody. Stay tuned, Sierra Leone is coming up next.
Interesting.
That was very good. Very, very good. Yeah. This has been a long-awaited video, but as you can see, this was a long video. We had to make sure that we had time to do it.
Yeah, a lot of cool facts, man. A lot of interesting foods. I mean, fish, red meats only on Sundays, I think he said.
Yeah.
Catholics, that's why. Yeah. I think he didn't even get into the religion, but one of them did mention that it was a majority Catholic.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, so that's dope. That's what's up.
Yeah, definitely. So we are ready to dive into Seychelles culture.
Let's get it.
People, food, interesting facts. Let us know about it. This seems like a peaceful, Commonwealth country.
Free country.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, one party. That's conflicts.
That is conflict, but I feel like for the people, they don't have no stress.
Yeah.
I feel like they're stress free. Then it's one of the richest countries too. So I mean,
one of the smallest populations.
Yes, I feel like y'all got more bang for your buck for the group that y'all have. So I feel like y'all get to have more.
Yes. So we shared earlier that this was one of the places on the top of our list long time ago. So let us know more about your culture. Yeah. Like this video, subscribe, turn on the post notification bell. We have enabled our super thanks if you like to support the channel that way, as well as our join features to become a VIP member of the channel. Send in your reaction requests through our description box below, right underneath this video, for more requests. All right, we'll see you soon.
Peace.